Hello friends, today's topic is antiretroviral drugs part 2, which is a continuation of last lecture antiretroviral part 1. Myself Dr. Satish Suthar, I am an assistant professor of pharmacology at MP Shah Government Medical College Jamnagar. So let us start with the highlights of the last lecture. In last lecture, we have discussed about what is virus, basic structure of virus, basic structure of virus having core genome, core protein and envelope, the structure of HIV virus and how HIV virus replicate within the host cell, classification of antiretroviral drugs, and we have discussed the few but very important details about NRTIs, anti-RTIs and NNRTIs. Anti-RTI is considered as a part of NRTIs. So in next slides we will use the terminology NRTIs in place of anti-RTIs. So please consider anti-RTI as a NRTIs. So in today's talk we are going to discuss about protease inhibitors, PIs, and highly active antiretroviral therapy, the therapeutic portion of HIV infection. So let us start with the protease inhibitors, PIs. So protease inhibitors, PIs, are Navir's brothers. The drugs are atazanavir, ritonavir, indinavir, nelfinavir, sequinavir, lopinavir, darunavir, and fostemtrinavir. So all protease inhibitors are Navir's brothers. Now let us see how protease inhibitors works, mechanism of action of protease inhibitors. In a slide of HIV replication within the host cell, we have seen when viral DNA is integrated within the host genome, forms the provirus, and this provirus is transcribed into messenger RNA and genomic viral RNA. This messenger RNA uses the ribosome and amino acid of the host cell for the translation of proteins of virus, and initially these viral proteins are large in size and not mature enough. So with the help of enzyme protease, these polyproteins, large proteins, are break down into the various structural proteins and functional proteins including viral enzymes. So this protease enzyme is required to generate the structural proteins and viral enzymes from the polyproteins. So protease inhibitors inhibit this step and prevent the generation of various structural proteins and viral enzymes of the HIV virus. So let me brief the mechanism of action of protease inhibitors. So in previous slide we have seen that the large polyproteins undergoes breakdown process with the help of enzyme protease and forms the various structural and functional proteins for the virus. So this step is inhibited by the protease inhibitor. So by inhibiting this step, it prevents the formation of mature infectious virus. So the protease inhibitors prevent the formation of mature infectious virus. So this is how protease inhibitors work. The majority of protease inhibitors are metabolized by the cytochrome 3A4, CYP3A4, except nelfinavir is a substrate for the CYP2C19. So predominantly all the protease inhibitors are metabolized by CYP3A4 except nelfinavir. Most of these drugs inhibit the cytochrome CYP3A4 and also some drugs induce other cytochrome. But important point is most of the PI inhibit the cytochrome 3A4 and ritonavir is most potent inhibitor of cytochrome 3A4. So by inhibiting enzyme inhibition and enzyme induction, the drug-drug interaction are so common with the protease inhibitors. There are certain limitations of PIs. Most of the PIs inhibit the CYP3A4 enzyme, and also PIs are inducer for specific cytochrome enzymes. So PIs are both enzyme inducers as well as enzyme inhibitors. That's why drug-drug interaction are common and unpredictable with the PIs. Second limitation is it requires large tablet load. So patient have to take around 6 to 18 tablets per day. So patient compliance is major problem with PIs. Food also affects the absorption of PIs. Some PIs to be taken on empty stomach and some PIs are to be taken with milk. So food affects the absorption, and metabolic side effects which include lipodystrophy, dyslipidemia and insulin resistance. Lipodystrophy means abnormal distribution of fat including obesity, abdominal obesity, buffalo hump and wasting of limb and face. Dyslipidemia, PIs are associated with the raised triglyceride and cholesterol and insulin resistance. So diabetes mellitus may be worsened with the use of protease inhibitors. The problem of large tablet load with PI can be overcome by the booster PI regimen. We have seen that almost all PIs are metabolized by CYP3A4, and all PIs are CYP3A4 inhibitors, and among these PIs, the ritonavir is most potent CYP3A4 inhibitor. So ritonavir in low dose at subtherapeutic dose around 100 mg is combined with other PI that will be used for the treatment of HIV infection. So a subtherapeutic dose of ritonavir inhibit the metabolism of other PI, and thereby it increases the bioavailability of the other PI. So dose and frequency of other PI can be reduced by adding the ritonavir at subtherapeutic dose. So this is known as booster PI regimen, that is combination of subtherapeutic around 100 mg of ritonavir with other PI to decrease the large tablet load of PI. Adverse drug reaction of protease inhibitors. The common ADR of protease inhibitors are GI intolerance, which includes nausea, vomiting and diarrhea, headache and dizziness. The specific side effects for the PIs are metabolic side effects include lipodystrophy, dyslipidemia and impaired glucose tolerance. The renal stone and hyperbilirubinemia are common with imidavir and atazanavir. The hyperbilirubinemia is not associated with the hepatotoxicity, and this side effect is because of inhibition of glucuronide transferase enzyme. Atazanavir is also associated with the cholelithiasis. So this is the ADR profile of PIs. The specific side effects are metabolic side effects, renal stone and hyperbilirubinemia. Up to this we have covered NRTIs, NNRTIs and protease inhibitors. These are the commonly used group of drugs in heart regimen. Other group is integrase inhibitors. The drugs are Gravis brothers, raltegravir and dolutegravir. Integrase enzyme is important for the integration of viral DNA with the host genome. So by inhibiting this enzyme, we can inhibit the binding or covalent bonding of viral DNA with the host DNA. So we are not going to discuss in detail about this drug. The next group is entry inhibitors. On the host cell, we have seen in previous slides that co-receptor CCR5 or CXR4 binds with the GP120 of HIV virus. So this is an important step of attachment of HIV virus with the host cell. GP120 of HIV is binds with the co-receptor. So this is a attachment step, and this step is inhibited by the CCR5 blocker. The drug is Maraviro. So it inhibits the binding of co-receptor with the GP120 of virus, HIV virus. Other drug is enfuvirtide. When GP120 binds with the co-receptor, the GP41 expose and undergoes conformational changes and penetrate the membrane of the host cell and draws the membrane of host cell and virus in their close proximity, and these two membranes fuse. So this, for the fusion purpose, GP41 is important, and this GP41 can be blocked by the drug enfuvirtide. So enfuvirtide is GP41 blocker, and thereby it inhibits the fusion of HIV virus with the host cell. Now let us see the basic aspects of the pharmacotherapy of HIV infection, that is ART, antiretroviral therapy, including HAART. The treatment of HIV infection is complex, lifelong, need expertise, strong motivation and commitment of the patient, needs resources, and is also very expensive. Antiretroviral therapy is only 3 decades old and is still evolving. Initially, anti-HIV drugs were used singly, but single use leads to emergence of resistance. That's why aggressive therapy with combination of 3 or more drugs are used, and this aggressive treatment with combination of 3 or more drugs is known as HAART, that is highly active antiretroviral therapy. Currently available HIV treatment does not eradicate HIV from the body of the patient. That's why it does not cure the patient. So goal of the HIV treatment, goal of the HAART is maximally and durably inhibit the viral replication so that patient can attain maximum effective immune response. So the basic goal is to boost up the immune system of the patient and thereby prolong the survival of the patient, improve the quality of life, and postpone the complication of the AIDS. So basic goal is to make the immune system very effective by inhibiting the viral replication within the patient. So goal is maximally and durably inhibit the viral replication so that the patient can attain maximum effective response. Now when to initiate HAART or ART treatment in the patients, there are certain criteria to initiate the HAART. The criteria include symptoms of the patient, CD4 count, RNA load, and stages of AIDS. So these are the criteria used to initiate the HAART. But the latest guideline of WHO as well as the National AIDS Control Organization of India suggests that treat all people living with HIV or AIDS with antiretroviral therapy regardless of CD4 count, clinical stages, age or population. So this is a clear guideline that suggests treat each and every people living with HIV or AIDS with ART. National AIDS Control Organization, NACO. This body is run by Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India. The guideline for the treatment of HIV or AIDS patient released at the regular interval by the NACO. So in India, NACO guideline is to be followed for the treatment of HIV and AIDS patient. Now let us start with HAART, that is highly active antiretroviral therapy. There are some basic principles to make HAART regimen. In previous slide I stated that previously the ART in HIV patient used as monotherapy, but because of emergence of resistance, high rate of resistance, the aggressive treatment with combination of 3 or more drugs are used to prevent the emergence of resistance. So let us see some basic principles. The first principle is regimen should contain at least 3 drugs, and all preferred regimens should have 2 NRTIs plus 1 NNRTIs, and all regimens include either lamivudine or emtricitabine. For the treatment naive patients, means the patient who haven't experienced the HIV treatment, only PI sparing regimen, that is 2 NRTIs plus 1 NNRTIs are chosen. The latest guidelines suggest that the integrase inhibitors with 2 NRTIs are preferred because high efficacy, better tolerability and convenience of dosing if cost is not a problem. PI containing regimen are reserved for advanced cases who failed earlier regimen. So PI containing regimens used only when the first line regimens failed. Now let us see the few first line regimens, examples of the first line regimen. So preferred regimen is a combination of 2 NRTIs plus 1 NNRTIs. The preferred regimen is tenofovir plus lamivudine plus efavirenz, that is NNRTIs. So 2 NRTIs and 1 NNRTIs. We can switch lamivudine to emtricitabine. So this is a preferred regimen: tenofovir plus lamivudine or emtricitabine plus efavirenz. So alternative regimens are zidovudine plus lamivudine plus efavirenz or nevirapine. So 2 NRTIs and 1 NNRTIs. Other alternative regimens are tenofovir plus lamivudine or emtricitabine plus nevirapine, and tenofovir plus lamivudine or emtricitabine plus dolutegravir. So you can see in all regimens there are 2 NRTIs, and all regimen contains either lamivudine or emtricitabine. If the first line treatment fails, what to do? If the first line treatment fails, change all 3 drugs, but we can continue lamivudine and emtricitabine because they are least toxic, and it also reverses the resistance of zidovudine as well as tenofovir. So lamivudine and emtricitabine should be continued, and all 2 drugs are changed if the first line treatment fails. So now comes to the second line regimen. In first line regimen there are 2 NRTIs plus 1 NNRTIs. If the first line regimen fails, so we should change all 3 drugs except lamivudine and emtricitabine. And second line regimens include 2 NRTIs plus 1 protease inhibitor with ritonavir, that is boosted PI regimen. Suppose if patient is treated with the first line regimen, that is tenofovir, lamivudine and nevirapine. If this regimen fails, we have to change the tenofovir and NNRTI, but we should continue with the lamivudine. So second line regimen, so instead of tenofovir, the second line drug would be zidovudine or dilonosine plus lamivudine to be continued, and in place of NNRTI we have to add PI, boosted PI regimen, etazanavir or lopinavir with ritonavir, subtherapeutic dose of ritonavir. So second line regimen for the heart is zidovudine, lamivudine plus boosted PI drugs, that is etazanavir or lopinavir. Other example, the first line regimen contains zidovudine, we have to add another NNRTI. Sorry, we have to add another NRTI. So if first line having zidovudine, we can add tenofovir in place of zidovudine. Lamivudine or emtricitabine should be continued, and same PI regimen maybe etazanavir or lopinavir or saquinavir with subtherapeutic dose of ritonavir. So restricted R is ritonavir, that is booster dose around 100 milligrams subtherapeutic dose. So this is about second line regimen. Now combination in heart to be avoided. You can remember like this: Gista, Stadi, Ladi, Tedi. So combination with Zidovudine plus Stavudine, Stavudine plus Didenosine, Lamivudine plus Didenosine, and Tenofovir plus Didenosine. So Zidovudine and Stavudine combination to be avoided because both are thymidine analogs, so they compete with each other for their activation. So there is a pharmacodynamic antagonism. So this combination to be avoided. Stavudine plus Didenosine shared common side effects including neuropathy, lactic acidosis, pancreatitis. So the chances of high toxicity include neuropathy and lactic acidosis. So a combination of Stavudine plus Didenosine to be avoided. The combination of Lamivudine plus Didenosine is not pharmacologically additive, so there is no extra benefit. So this combination to be avoided. The combination with Tenofovir plus Didenosine, this combination is very less efficacious. That's why this combination to be avoided. And also combination of Lamivudine plus emtricitabine to be avoided because both are similar drugs. So Gista, Stadi, Ladi, Tedi, this combination to be avoided. Now comes to the prophylaxis. There are three types of prophylaxis: pre-exposure prophylaxis, post-exposure prophylaxis, prevention of parents to child transmission, that is PPTCT, or prevention of mother to child transmission, that is PMTCT. That is nothing but perinatal prophylaxis. So there are three types of prophylaxis in HIV: pre-exposure prophylaxis, post-exposure prophylaxis, and perinatal prophylaxis. So let us see one by one. Now first prophylaxis is pre-exposure prophylaxis. The people who are at high risk of contracting HIV infection, the people are men who have sex with men sex worker, injection drug users, transgender people, uninfected partner of heterosexual serodiscordant couples. So serodiscordant couples means couple having one partner HIV positive and another is HIV negative. So these people require the pre-exposure prophylaxis. The treatment, daily treatment with tenofovir 300 mg alone plus or minus emtricitabine reduce the risk of HIV infection in these people. So this is all about the pre-exposure prophylaxis. Second prophylaxis is post-exposure prophylaxis. The healthcare workers and others who gets accidentally exposed to risk of HIV infection by needle prick or needle streak or other any sharp object, or contact with the blood or biological fluid of HIV patients or blood transfusion, require the post-exposure prophylaxis. The professions with high chances of blood exposure are the doctors, medical students, nursing staff, nursing students, labor and delivery room personnel, surgeon and operation theatre staff, dentist, laboratory technician, etc. So these professions who gets accidentally exposed to the blood or biological fluid of HIV patients require post-exposure prophylaxis. The post-exposure prophylaxis of HIV started soon after exposure. So it should be started within 72 hours, preferably within 2 hours. The current guidelines recommended minimum 2 NRTIs, preferably added third drug of different class, including PIs. So preferred regimen for the post-exposure prophylaxis is this: tenofovir 300 milligrams, lamivudine 300 milligrams OD, plus or minus, but prefer to be add lopinavir with ritonavir booster regimen, and the lopinavir 400 milligrams and ritonavir 100 milligram BD, and this 3 drug regimen to be used for 4 weeks. So this regimen found to significantly reduce the risk of HIV transmission in accidentally exposed health personnel. So preferred regimen is combination of tenofovir, lamivudine and lopinavir for the 4 weeks. Third is prevention of parents or prevention of mother to child transmission, that is PPTCT or PMTCT, perinatal prophylaxis. So each and every HIV positive pregnant lady should be treated as any HIV positive adults. So first line regimen for the HIV positive patient including pregnant lady is tenofovir plus lamivudine plus nevirapine. So first scenario is if the HIV positive pregnant lady receiving any first line HIV heart regimen including tenofovir plus lamivudine plus rifampicin deliver the baby. So infant should be treated with the nevirapine syrup for 6 weeks. Second scenario, if the infant who are at high risk of acquiring HIV. So high risk infants are those who born to women with established HIV infection who receive less than 4 weeks of ART at the time of delivery, or infant who born to women with established HIV infection with viral load more than 1000 copies per ml in 4 weeks before delivery, or identified for the first time during the postpartum period with or without HIV test prenatally. So infant who are born at high risk of acquiring HIV infection should be treated with the zidovudine 2 times a day and nevirapine once a day for 6 weeks. So infant who are at high risk of acquiring HIV infection should be treated with combination of zidovudine plus nevirapine for 6 weeks. So this is about perinatal prophylaxis. In second part of antiretroviral drugs, up to this in today's session we discuss about the protease inhibitors, the few details of protease inhibitors including enzyme inhibition, enzyme induction, limitation of protease inhibitors, what is booster PI regimen. After that we have discussed about what is heart, what is the goal of heart, basic principles of choosing or the making the heart regimen, first line and second line regimen of the heart, and prophylaxis, pre-exposure, post-exposure and perinatal prophylaxis, which are the people's or personnel require this type of exposure and which regimen are to be used in pre-exposure, post-exposure and perinatal prophylaxis. So let us end up with this antiretroviral part 2. For any queries, you can directly contact with me on this contact number. Suggestions and feedbacks are welcome. Thank you very much.